So today we're going to talk about 4 things: EEG, standard of care, AI, and Paul. Paul was born 3 months earlier due to pregnancy complications, heavily reanimated, 3 intubation trials, adrenaline shots, and constant CPR. And after 19 minutes, he started breathing himself. So at this point, Paul is my son. At this point, you realize that you rely completely on the medical team, and you have plenty of questions. What's going on? What's next? And one of the answers that I got was this: we will monitor his vitals and wait for an EEG. So we will monitor his vitals and wait for an EEG. The vitals, I think we all got it. We all have seen a movie or a TV show with this, a scope. It brings us the heart with the heart rate, tachycardia, bradycardia. We have the lungs with respiration rate, oxygen levels, and time to time the blood pressure. But then, EEG. So if you're far from the field or not familiar with neurology, you might not know what it is. So let me walk you through real quick. EEG stands for electroencephalogram, and it's the way to measure the brain's activity of the brain's electrical activity. And to do so, you need to put an array of electrodes around the patient's head. So in this case, it's the white bits around the baby's head. By the way, this is not Paul, this is a marketing shot. This is linked to a device that will clean, filter the signal, and you will display the signal somewhere, in this case on the tablet that was carefully put behind the baby. Not so long a time ago, it was printed on paper. And you may add a video link to record some unwanted movement, because this will not be analyzed in real time. So this is what the doctor will take and study to put a diagnostic. But what can we see in EEG? In EEG, we can see brain injury, strokes, anoxia, coma, sedation, infection, epilepsy, brain death, so plenty, no? So back to the story. Why do I need to wait? So at that moment, I thought, okay, maybe it's one of those diagnostics just to confirm, right? To make sure what it is. But it's not. When you see the numbers, in high-risk population in the ICU, 50% of patients present non-convulsive seizures. This only can be seen by EEG. You cannot see it by imagery or clinical exam. And if missed, it will drive secondary brain issues. On the left, on the emergency department, on ER, EEG brings clarity. In 50% of the cases, it will help to diagnose and determine if the convulsive seizure is treatable, and as important, it will help to not overtreat a non-epileptic event. But it gets way more dramatic in neonates. So in neonates, cooled neonates with hypoxic ischemic encephalopathy, what's the case of Paul, 72% of seizures show absolutely no clinical sign. So you cannot detect it otherwise using EEG. So it seems pretty important, no? So why do I need to wait? And I thought maybe it's because it's super, super expensive, difficult to access. When we look at it, it's not. In France, a standard EEG is 135 euros, fully reimbursed. And when you see the EEG price machine, you have a very comprehensive price. So from the standard one to the flagship with all the bells and whistles. But the number that I find really interesting is the one on the left, is that if you compare the ICU cost of a patient, compare what continuous EEG monitoring cost, is roughly 4%. And we saw the outcomes that it presents, right? So it shouldn't be a talking point. So why do I need to wait? Here's why. There's a global shortage of EEG specialists. EEG is a very complex signal. It takes years of training to understand, and only a subset of neurologists study through becoming a neurophysiologist. So yesterday, a colleague of mine was talking about EEG, and he was telling, like, it's been 10 years that I'm working on the EEG field. I still don't understand a bit. By the way, it's my case as well. But when you see the demand and the capacity, the mismatch become obvious. In France, we have over 1 million neurology admissions per year, and we have 625 neurophysiologists in the whole country. That doesn't even cover the day routine work or even the half a day routine work. If we look in the US, the situation is not much better. So we have over 3 million neurology admissions for 2,300 neurology. What this means is that when a hospital or a clinic needs to perform an EEG because the patient has a seizure, is in a coma, or is sedated, most of the time the hospital will not be able to perform and analyze the EEG fast enough. On emergency cases, for example, the diagnostic comes hours, sometimes days after the event. And this is if you are able to provide EEG services. If we look again in the US, only 62% of the hospitals in the US have access to EEG. And some studies show that an ICU without EEG doubles the mortality of one that have EEG. So we have a very complex signal, high demand, and few people to do it. No, it's the perfect layout for an AI. Yes, but it's not that easy. So traditionally, you will need a big amount of a curated, clean, and expert-labeled data set to train your model to do one task. If you're lucky enough to have a data set, because as we see, it's not easy to have access to expert labeling, you will be confronted to the field. And in the field, your signal will look quite different. So you might have another type of electrodes, a different number of electrodes were disconnected during exam, you have artifact movements, whatever, and your signals start becoming inherently different. And the more variability you add to your signal, the less your algorithm will perform. So I want to show you what we are doing and why I think this is so powerful. So what we did is we took a huge amount of EEG data and we trained a model. We trained a model to learn the patterns, the transition, all the subtleties of the EEG that naturally will come on a human EEG. Once we have this generic model, a model that understands EEG, comes something really interesting. It means that we only need a subset of expert labeling data to teach and train our model to answer for a specific task. Then this becomes very powerful because you save a lot of time, you get rid of the need for expert labeling, and you bring performance that you were not able to reach before. This is self-supervised pre-training, and is the same shift that make language models and vision models explode in performance. So till now, this is super nice. On paper, looks very powerful, but how do you bring it to the field? So I will talk about BIOSerenity, my company. So we design, develop, and manufacture our own hardware and our own software solutions, but we bring it to the field by being on the field. So today, when a hospital needs to analyze or make an EEG, and they overreach their capacity, or they simply doesn't have any neurology department, they call us, we go on site, we perform the EEG, it goes out to our cloud, we process the data, we sprinkle a little AI, and we get the data to our own neurophysiologists. And our idea here is to enhance our neurophysiologists to be able to interpret in a better and faster way and have a better output of the necessity. And this is cool, this is nice. If we talk in France about 2025, we already did more than 45,000 EEGs, but it's not scalable enough. It has its limits. Our vision is to be able to be on the bedside of the patient, so able to detect the event when it happens, flag it, understand it, notify the incentivists so we can start treatment as soon as possible. So I want to In the ICU and the ER, we already accept, or it's already a necessity that we have continuous heart monitor and continuous breathing monitors. And what we want to do is to make, with our foundation model, the EEG continuous monitoring as accessible and as a universal, and this beyond the number of neurophysiologists that we will ever be able to train. So we want to bring an expert level at the bedside anytime needed. So on this small talk, what I hope you guys today got a little bit more sense of what EEG is, why it should be a standard of care, a little bit better idea of foundation models. And regarding Paul, at that time, BIOSerenity didn't exist, wasn't on the map. So I called every single person that I knew until I got access to a neurophysiologist that accepted to take Paul's case. He got treatment on time. He's doing quite fine. Thank you for your attention.